It's part one of a back-to-back championship deciding weekend for the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Hello everybody, welcome to the Lausitzring. We're here this weekend for two races and then we're off to Oschersleben next weekend, and by the end of that we will know who the champion of the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany 2020 will be. It's Dylan Pereira who leads the points championships ahead of Larry ten Voorde, but it's advantage Larry ten Voorde, who starts on pole position after what has been a very difficult qualifying session. The grid qualifying session saw many cars spinning off, going into the gravel traps, going into the mud, because weather conditions here at the Lausitzring are very challenging indeed. They have been this morning, a lot of rain, and it's very cold conditions. We're at the Lausitzring and not at Zandvoort as originally scheduled, and that's due to the COVID-19 situation, which means that this event has been moved back into Germany. And we are at the Lausitzring, but we are not on the sprint circuit. We are on the Grand Prix course, and it's the first time we've been on the Grand Prix course since 2004. And back in the day then, it was Wolf Hensler who won the race on this, the extended circuit. The last time Porsche Carrera Cup Germany was here was on the shorter sprint circuit, and that was won by Dennis Olsen and Christian Engelhardt. But our eyes are very much on Dylan Pereira and Larry ten Voorde and Lauren Heinrich, who are fighting it out for the top of the championship in the main driver standings. And that man there, Carlos Rivas, who could clinch the Pro-Am Championship this weekend ahead of Matthias Jeserik and Stefan Raykopf. We also have the Rookie Championship, Lauren Heinrich and Julian Hanses and Diego Bertinelli fighting it out for that. So lots to keep an eye on. We have a guest driver here this week and as well, Alexander Fack, who's in the number 8 car. It's a Huber racing car, but it's been engineered by the Fack Auto Tech team, and he is the son of Alex Fack. And the driver, Alexander, is an 18-year-old Swiss driver who won the 2020 Porsche GT Cup Challenge Suisse with 4 wins and 8 podiums. So really good to see him here. You can see that the weather conditions are very iffy. It's dry at the moment. The track is very slippery. And the points championship is closer than ever. 8 points is Dylan Pereira's lead over Larry ten Voorde. Dylan Pereira, who has been on a winning streak the last 4 races, in fact, but he is going to have his work cut out. He starts from 5th on the grid today after a wretched qualifying session, but he has gained a bit of an advantage because several drivers have picked up grid drops for overtaking or speeding under a red flag. Leon Kohler is one of them. He had done very well in qualifying this morning, but speeding under a red flag has seen him dropped 5 places. Also Lauren Heinrich and Dan Van Koyk, and they've all picked up grid penalties, as has Joey Morrison, who had a grid penalty outstanding from the Red Bull Ring, so he's also 5 places back. So those 4 drivers all starting further back than where they qualified. Our focus very much on that man, Larry ten Voorde. This is his opportunity to regain that points lead. He appeared to be running away with the championship earlier on in the season, and Dylan Pereira has come back very strong. This is the chance as he starts on pole position with Diego Bertinelli alongside. And then on row 2, it'll be Rudy Van Buren and Julian Hanses. Row 3, championship leader Dylan Pereira with Kay Van Baerlo alongside. And row 4, Leon Kohler, having had that 5-place grid penalty alongside Jesse Van Koyk. Row 5, Yuka Honkavori and our leading Pro-Am driver, Carlos Rivas, looking to potentially clinch that championship this weekend ahead of Lauren Heinrich and Lucas Grunewald. Row 7, Stefan Raykopf and the guest driver, Alexander Fack. Really good to see him here, see what he can do. Matthias Jeserik and Dan Van Koyk on row 8, and then Joey Morrison bringing up the rear of the grid, having taken that grid penalty as well. Sadly, we don't have any spectators here because of the COVID-19 situation, so this is a behind closed door event, but we are hoping to provide all of the action and excitement on your TV screens. On this, the second formation lap, and the cars have been given 2 formation laps because of the inclement weather, and giving them more of a chance to get their brakes and tyres up to temperature. Of course, this part of the season, we would normally be well done and dusted, but we've had to squeeze in a season's worth of racing over the last 3 months or so, and it means that we're running much later into the year than normal. And the weather conditions are definitely reflecting that. It's a gloomy old day here at the Lausitzring. We're on a circuit that is 4.57 kilometres around, 14 turns, 8 to the left, 6 to the right. And we are getting ready for race 1 of 2 this weekend, then another 2 next weekend before our championship is decided. So the cars just making their way onto the back of the grid. Joey Morrison at the very rear. He's got a lot of work to do from there. These conditions have been very challenging already today. We're waiting for the red light to go off. The red light goes off and we are racing. There's a real roar and a bit of contact as a bit of a argy-bargy going into the first corner. It's Rudy Van Buren who wins the drag race into the first corner. Our pole sitter, Larry Tenforder, getting pushed from pillar to post, and he bounces around. He's trying to hold on to that third place, and Larry Tenforder's pole position suddenly under a lot of, well, more than under threat. He's swallowed up by the rest of the field, and Larry Tenforder currently down in third place, and Dylan Pereira looked to get a great start in that. The number 16 car going straight on onto the grass, but we're keeping an eye on this lead battle. Larry Tenforder back up into second place. Dylan Pereira, his main championship title contender, is just behind him, and Diego Bertinelli also alongside. I wonder if the stewards might have something to say about that start. There was a lot of door banging going into turn 1. And it's Rudy Van Buren who leads the way by some considerable distance of Larry Tenforder. And that's a car, one of the T3 HRT Motorsport cars. Is that Leon Kohler? Yes, it is, who goes across the grass, rejoins further back. Does well to keep it pointing in the right direction. So fairly action-packed first lap. And you can see Lauren Heinrich at the back of that first pack. And then Leon Kohler leading the second bunch of cars. And half an hour of racing ahead of us. And already a lot of action. There's another car going straight on that looked like Kay Van Berlo, and we'll have another look in a moment, and another car into the gravel. So a lot of action going on further back down the field. And there's Dylan Pereira under pressure from the number 9 and Diego Bertinelli, and Pereira not enjoying these wet conditions at all. He's also got Julian Hanses, his teammate, just behind him, and we're riding on board with Dylan Pereira. You can see bit of contact with Diego Bertinelli. Dylan Pereira desperate to get through the field and get after his main championship rival, which is Larry Tenforder. And this is Diego Bertinelli under intense pressure under turn 14. Along the pit straight they run side by side. There's our leader. It's Rudy Van Buren from Larry Tenforder. Dylan Pereira has the line into turn 1. If he can slow it down enough, he's into third place. And Diego Bertinelli having to yield. Rudy Van Buren leading the way from Larry Tenforder. Then it's Dylan Pereira, Diego Bertinelli, Julian Hanses. And Dylan Pereira making up for the dreadful qualifying session he had this morning, and he is on the tail of his main championship rival. Diego Bertinelli's not done yet though. Pereira really has not been enjoying these conditions today, and he spent a lot of time pointing in the wrong direction during the qualifying session this morning, and will be pleased just to get away from this weekend with a good handful of points, and hopefully for him, his championship lead intact. So Diego Bertinelli very much in a fork racing sandwich. The two orange and blue cars surrounding him, and then behind them it's Lauren Heinrich. There's Carlos Rivas, and he is leading the Pro-Am Championship. And there's Stefan Raykopf looking to the inside of Lucas Grunewald. Stefan Raykopf also in the Pro-Am battle, so he's very keen to get on top of Carlos Rivas and get past the green and black car. So we're looking back from Carlos Rivas, and now looking ahead from Stefan Raykopf. And these very, very tricky conditions. These cars, not always that easy to drive in slippery conditions, and the drivers having to work incredibly hard and tread very, very carefully to keep them on the island. So having another look at that start, you can see that it was Rudy Van Buren who made a great start but bounced off Diego Bertinelli and Larry Tenforder. Made it through into the lead. Didn't look like anybody had got any damage from that. And Dylan Pereira made a lightning start as well. We're looking again from the rear, and you can see the cars fanning out and using all of that pit straight. But Rudy Van Buren definitely getting his elbows out as he leads the pack into turn one. This is what it looked like from Larry Tenforder's perspective. Not the best of getaways, and to see the number 57 car come steaming through, at which point he'd already made contact with Diego Bertinelli. Larry Tenforder trying to come back around the outside of the number 9 car, has the inside line. And Rudy Van Buren very firmly in the lead, and Larry Tenforder into second. Well, this is the view from Dylan Pereira. You can see whether there was a contact with Larry Tenforder or not from Rudy Van Buren. It looked like the lightest of touches, but definitely more than the lightest of touches with Diego Bertinelli. And into the first series of corners. These conditions testing these drivers to the absolute extreme. And the view from Jesse Van Kooyken, you can see that he got kind of bogged down to start off with, then got the car rolling. But in the meantime, the front half of the field had disappeared off into the distance. And of course, the opening lap is when the drivers have got the best opportunity to make up a hatful of places. And sometimes we see some more desperate measures. That's a replay of the number 16 car of Dan Van Kooyk going onto the grass and keeping it in the wrong direction, keeping it pointing in the right direction, and unfortunately letting through a number of other cars. Now Larry Tenforder has reeled in our leader. So Rudy Van Buren under immense pressure from Larry Tenforder. Tenforder looking to the left, looking to the right. He really wants to get past Rudy Van Buren as quickly as possible and get some space between him and Dylan Pereira. So we race along the backstretch in towards turn 6. Larry Tenforder on the inside under braking, and he's made that look quite easy. You see the red tyre barrier that's been put in place there to stop the drivers cutting the corner. But Larry Tenforder taking that lead away and relegating Rudy Van Buren into second place. And you can see how wide they're going, and the drivers having to tread incredibly careful because 2 wheels onto the dirt and it can all be over. And Julian Hanses really testing that to the limit as he gets right out onto the mud and holding on to his 5th place. And there's another one, goes straight on, and that is Rudy Van Buren. So Van Buren, having led this race for the first 8 minutes, has now got it all wrong, coming out of the corner and dropped a long way back. And that promotes, I do believe, Dylan Pereira up into second place. Looking back at the number 14 car being driven by Jukka Honkavori. And that's Jesse Van Kooyk just in front. So here we go again. It's a replay. And so close from Larry Tenforder. These cars running millimetres away from each other. Larry Tenforder trying to monster him into a mistake. And then finally, out of turn 5, onto the tri-oval, and then down towards turn 6 under braking. Larry Tenforder has the inside line, brakes later, slows the car down and takes that position away. And the number 57 car is relegated. So it's Larry Tenforder leading the way from Dylan Pereira, the championship leader. This is the championship fight that's going to rage until the end of this season. It's Diego Bertinelli in 3rd, ahead of Julian Hanses and Lauren Heinrich. And then quite a scramble further back, Carlos Rivas, who's currently showing in P9 on the track, but is the leading Pro-Am driver. And the second place Pro-Am driver is down in 12th, and that's Stefan Raykopf and Matthias Jesrick in P14. the third of the Pro-Am drivers, and they've got their own championship battle going on. So there's Carlos Rivas and Lucas Groeneveld just behind him. And Rivas in ninth, and Groeneveld, who is in the rookie championship, is eager to get past Carlos Rivas. He's fighting for a different championship, but they're on the same bit of tarmac as Leon Kohler goes riding over the curbs and bouncing around. And we're looking back again at the Groeneveld car. And Leon Kohler, who had that 5th-place grid drop, had done so well in qualifying this morning, looking very, very strong. And then picking up a 5-place penalty for failing to slow under a red flag. And he works his way to the inside of Lucas Groeneveld, and past he goes. And now sets about Carlos Rivas in P9. Probably won't have much of a fuss getting past Rivas. Rivas doesn't want to get into a fight with him today. He has got other battles to fight. Under braking into turn 1, and Leon Kohler goes sailing through with relative ease. And this is the view from Carlos Rivas. You can just see how grubby everything is out there. Lucas Groeneveld still challenging Carlos Rivas. So out onto the trioval we go. Leon Kohler, Carlos Rivas behind Lucas Groeneveld. Our leader is Larry Tenforde. He's got 4.5 seconds over second place Dylan Pereira. And they are the 1-2 in the championship. Third in the championship is Lauren Heinrich, the number 26 car. And Lauren Heinrich is currently lying in 5th place in this race. Leon Kohler is 4th in the championship. He is 77 points back from Larry Tenforde, as Dan Van Koyk gets it all wrong out of the corner, slides it around, no grip to be had out there, and rushes back to rejoin. He's down towards the back of the field anyway, but that wouldn't have helped him in any way at all, as Carlos Rivas continues to come under pressure from Lucas Groeneveld. So the number 77 car, Leon Kohler, once he got past Carlos Rivas, has put a fair bit of space between him and the number 6 car. Out onto the home straight we come again. Leon Kohler now closing down the car in front of him. And that's Jukka Hunkovori. So it's race 1 of 2 races this weekend. It's Larry Tenforde leading the way. And if things finish as they are now, that will close the championship up. And that's a car that has gone straight on. And on the corner, the number 16 car of, number 18 car of Lucas Groeneveld rejoining, but that would have lost him a lot of places. So that was going straight on at turn 1 and rejoining at turn 5. Has to weave his way through the tyres. And if he gains any advantage through doing that, it's pretty unlikely. He's actually rejoined at pretty well the same point of the track as where he left. So if the race stewards believe that he's gained an advantage from that, he may well pick up a penalty. We've seen it in a previous race today, a car that went straight on the corner and didn't actually become disadvantaged by it, and gained a drive-through penalty as a result. And if the stewards believe that Lucas Groeneveld hasn't been disadvantaged by that mistake, they may well award him a drive-through penalty. So our focus is on Carlos Rivas, and the reason being is that he's leading the Pro-Am Championship, and he could potentially tie that one up this weekend. He's currently in 10th on the track, but leading the way in terms of the Pro-Am Championship. And you can see Lucas Groeneveld sliding the car out of the corner. We're looking at Carlos Rivas. And the Black Falcon team, Techstar Porsche team, looking on. You can see our leader, Larry Tenforder, has 6.9 seconds over second place Dylan Pereira. That is a big lead. But our focus on Carlos Rivas as he looks to try and tie up the Pro-Am Championship. We're approaching the halfway distance of this race, and Carlos Rivas and Lucas Grunewald continue their race-long battle, bumping over the curbs into turn 1. And out towards turn 3 and 4. And then we're back onto the tri-oval. And it's 5th gear, up into 5th gear as we head up towards turn 6. In dry conditions, we'll be looking at about 230 kilometers an hour. Under heavy braking into turn 6, 3rd gear. This was a corner that was a lot wider at the start of the weekend, and the red tyre barrier has been put in to stop the drivers cutting across the curbing. And still with Carlos Rivas as we head in towards turn 8, 9 and 10. And you can see a bit of a dry line appearing on the track, but there's so much mud and debris that's been dragged out by a number of cars that have been going onto the grass. But keeping the tyres cool could be an issue as this race unfolds. It's Larry Tenforder leading the way, and you can see there's a monstrous gap between him and second place Dylan Pereira, and Pereira will probably settle for second after the qualifying session he had this morning. That's probably exceeding his expectations for this race. Jago Bertinelli has quite a traffic jam behind him now as Julian Hanses slides it around the corner, and Lauren Heinrich just behind in the T3 HRT Motorsport car. And then there's a gap back to our early race leader, Rudy Van Buren in P6. And he in turn has a space back to Jukka Hunkavori. So Pereira, Bertinelli, Hanses, Heinrich. And the drivers trying to work their way through the field, but also the challenge of just keeping it on the track in these very challenging conditions. Stefan Raykopf doesn't have anything in front of him at the moment. He's running in P14, and he goes straight on into the gravel trap. So Stefan Raykopf getting it all wrong. Keeps it moving. The main bit is don't let it come to a stop. And out of the gravel trap and back onto the track. And now there's an even bigger gap in front of him. So Stefan Raykopf, who is down in 14th place and surrenders another position. And that looked like Dan Van Kuyk, who was coming through as a result of that little excursion onto the gravel. So Raykopf survives that, but loses a load of places as a result. And his challenge for the Pro-Am Championship really disappearing. So Matthias Jeserik, who's second in the Pro-Am standings, 48 points behind Carlos Rivas, and Stefan Raykopf, who's third in the Pro-Am Championship, currently trailing behind Matthias Jeserik on the track. Here's Larry Tenforder, he's our leader, and he's trying to cool his tyres. You can see him dipping off the racing line, trying to pick up some water to keep those wet weather tyres cool. There's Dylan Pereira, 8.5 seconds is the lead. So Larry Tenforder just needs to keep it on the island. You can see a bit of bodywork hanging off the Dylan Pereira car after earlier scuffles. Won't affect the handling too much, but Dylan Pereira will be mindful of his qualifying this morning, where he just struggled to keep it on the track at all. And the 4-litre flat 6 boxer engine that produces 485 brake horsepower, proving to be quite a handful in these slippery conditions. So that's second place Pereira coming through. Third place Jago Bertinelli with Julian Hanses, who was 0.8 of a second behind last time around. And Leon Kohler, who's continuing his charge back through the field as he makes his move on Jesse Van Koyk. And Leon Kohler is up into P7. So Leon Kohler, who is always looking very quick, but always seems to be involved in some kind of controversy and has picked up a number of penalties over this season. Once again, finding himself having to fight his way forwards, and he's up into 7th place. But it would have been good to have seen what he could have done had he started from the position that he originally qualified in, and whether he could have done anything with Larry Tenforder and Dylan Pereira. Looking at a replay here of the number 16 car getting it all wrong into the corner and picking it up. Not too much damage done, but these conditions really testing these drivers to the absolute max. As Larry Tenforder continuing on his way, 8.8 seconds ahead of Dylan Pereira. So Pereira trying to close that gap down, but with about 9 minutes of this race remaining, he would need to be closing by a second a lap, and that would be a second a minute, and that really would be a bit of a tall order, wouldn't it? So less than 9 minutes to go. We're looking at Larry Tenforder. He checks his mirrors. And in towards turn 6 he comes. Turn 7, taken in 3rd gear. Another 3rd gear corner, turn 8. And it's full throttle up to around 230 kilometers an hour in dry conditions. In towards turn 9, 5th gear. And then braking 3rd gear around turn 9. And towards turn 10. So is that Diego Bertinelli? It looks like Bertinelli. No, is it the red and white car of Diego Bertinelli? No, it's not. Further back, that's Joey Morrison, who's a back marker. So getting our red and white cars up for one moment. It looked like it might have been Bertinelli had got past Pereira, but you can see the confusion. Some very identical looking cars. So the back marking Joey Morrison, who really is having a day he'd rather forget, having picked up that penalty at the Red Bull Ring that was carried over. And Morrison currently showing in 16th place and being lapped by the leaders. And he's probably ready to pack it all up and go to Oschersleben already, I should think. Larry Tenforder has completed another lap. We'll see what that gap is. Dylan Pereira crosses next, 9.4 seconds. So Larry Tenforder holding on and extending that lead. Diego Bertinelli is coming under pressure from Julian Hanses, and that is for the final podium position. So Diego Bertinelli and Julian Hanses, who of course are also fighting for positions in the Rookie Championship, are running together, looking for the final podium position in the main race, but also looking for honours in the Rookie Championship. Our Rookie Championship leader is Lauren Heinrich, and he is behind these two. So this is quite a battle that is going to go all the way down to the wire. Diego Bertinelli trying to make that Porsche as wide as possible as Julian Hanses closes in on him around turn 6, and through this windy section, which has caught quite a few drivers out. You can see by all the muddy tyre marks quite how many cars have been off on this section. And Diego Bertinelli doing all that he can to hold off Julian Hanses, but Hanses really is looking very eager indeed. The teammate, of course, to Dylan Pereira for Fork Racing. And that's Joey Morrison, whose wretched day goes from bad to worse. That's a spin. And he rejoins somewhere near, if not at the back of the grid. And it's another car going straight on and taking to the escape road. and cutting across. That's a dangerous tactic to cut across the grass in these conditions. It's still Joey Morrison, in fact. Oh, and that's that's a replay of him, how he got into that position. So that's how Joey Morrison ended up pointing in the wrong direction. And cutting across the grass on a day like today is never going to end well. And the powerful Porsche 911 engine, a little bit too much for off-roading here on a soggy day at the Lausitzring. We're into the last 5 minutes. It's race 8 of an 11-race season, and it's Larry Ten Voorde who leads the way as the battle between Julian Hanses and Diego Bertinelli hots up. Hanses looking very, very close indeed. Bertinelli shuts the door in his face. And then back out of turn 5. Dylan Pereira well clear in front of them. But Diego Bertinelli making that car as wide as possible. And there just behind them is Lauren Heinrich. So remember, Bertinelli and Hanses and Heinrich are all fighting for the rookie championship. Coming into this race, Heinrich was leading it by 12 points ahead of Julian Hanses, and Diego Bertinelli was 25 points behind, but their positions are reversed. So it's Bertinelli who's third in the championship. We got a problem, Matthias Jeserik, and there's debris on the track, and this could be something that brings out a safety car. Matthias Jeserik has had a big moment, and there's debris scattered everywhere, just trying to look at where that is, and that looks as though the debris is well off the racing line, so we should be all right. Let's have another look at the replay here. This is coming out of turn 5, which was where he was spun. So let's have a look and see what happened. And it looks as though he was collected. So contact from behind, turned him around. And Matthias Jeserik, was that Stefan Raykopf? And we're on board with Raykopf here. And Raykopf going for a bit of a gap that didn't exist. And a fairly opportunistic move from Stefan Raykopf. And you can see Raykopf has not come out of it well. Bodywork hanging off the car. And shedding debris as he goes around. So that's an incident that's going to be looked at by the stewards. We've got less than 3 minutes of this race remaining, and there's Joey Morrison also getting it all wrong into the corner, and it really is a bit of a destruction derby at the back of the field here. So into the pits comes Raykopf and also Joey Morrison, and it looks like their race is run. And they drop, obviously, to the very back of the field. I say obviously, but Kay Van Berlo has retired from the race at the very early stages. Looking at a replay, looking back at Stefan Raykopf. And that clatter. And that's done not a lot of favours to either of those cars. And you can see the Raykopf Porsche shedding bits all over the circuit. And a lot of damage to the number 33 car. So Raykopf is out, and the race continues. There's Joey Morrison. He spent more of the day with the circuit going around him than him going around the circuit. It's another spin for Morrison earlier on, and you can see him turning it around the right way, and a real, I'd just say baptism of fire, but Joey Morrison has been in this long enough for it to not be so much of a baptism of fire, but just a steep learning curve on this challenging day at the Lausitzring. And Raykopf clutching his head because that brings a close to his challenge for the Pro-Am Championship. And we are in to the closing stages of this race. It's Larry Tenford who leads the way. There's no way that Dylan Pereira is going to catch him unless Larry Tenford has a mechanical issue or if he runs off the circuit. And that is not impossible looking at what we've seen already. Dylan Pereira in a solid second and Diego Bertinelli seeming to have fought off the advances of Julian Hanses and the final podium position. Behind them is Lauren Heinrich. We're on to the +1 lap, and the race is coming into its closing stages. Diego Bertinelli can see Julian Hanses in his mirror. Has Hanses got anything for that final podium position? It looks like he's winding himself up for one last attack. And Bertinelli just needs to hold it together and keep it on the racing line if he wants to hold on to that position. We're on to the last lap of the race. It's Larry Tenford leading the way from Dylan Pereira. And after a difficult start to the race, our pole sitter, Larry Tenford, comes back, takes the lead, and is leading Dylan Pereira by over 12 seconds. So just this lap to go. Keep it on the island. Don't do anything stupid. And Larry Tenford will be on the top step of the podium. Diego Bertinelli still in third place, still holding off Julian Hanses. And you can see the concentration. You can see how hard Larry Tenford is having to work at the wheel to keep the car on the track. He can afford to back off slightly now. He is in the closing stages of this lap. And very, very shortly, he will see that checkered flag in front of him in past and around turn 8. And it's Larry Tenford for Nebulous Racing by Huber who leads the way. Dylan Pereira 12 seconds down the road. And this will completely reignite Larry Tenford's championship challenge. Dylan Pereira was probably coming into this race with a sense of damage limitation and has probably exceeded his expectations with second place. And Diego Bertinelli in the number 9 car looking for his second podium of the season. So we're looking back at that last few corners of Larry Tenford. You can see the concentration on his eyes, but he's out into turn 14 now. He will be able to see the checkered flag as he rounds this corner. Onto the pit straight he comes. It's Larry Tenford out of turn 14. He crosses the finish line. And it's Larry Tenford who wins race 1 of the weekend here at the Lausitzring. Quite a gap now as we wait for Dylan Pereira. And here he comes, Dylan Pereira in second place. Diego Bertinelli is going to hold on to third place just ahead of Julian Hanses. And then it's Lauren Heinrich ahead of our early leader, Rudy Van Buren. And then Leon Kohler, who has done a good job to come back into 7th place ahead of Jesse Van Koyk and Yuka Honkavori, who crosses the line next. The rest of the places come through. Our highest finishing rookie was Diego Bertinelli in 3rd place, and our highest finishing Pro-Am driver is Carlos Rivas, and he is 11th on the road. And Matthias Jeserik and Stefan Raykopf in all sorts of problems further back. So Carlos Rivas getting congratulations from the Black Falcon Team Techstar in the Pro-Am Championship. And there is the winner of the race, Larry Tenford, ahead of Dylan Pereira. So going into tomorrow's race, this is going to be very, very close indeed in terms of the championship. We've got 3 races left of the 2020 season, and it is very much a 2-horse race. Larry Tenforder and Dylan Pereira. Lauren Heinrich is still theoretically, mathematically in with a chance, but realistically it's Pereira and Tenforder who are going to be fighting it out over these next 3 races, and it's difficult to call who it's going to go to. So Larry Tenforder on his slow down lap. And unbelievably, that's his first win since round 2, which was at Lausitzring, and only his 3rd win of the season. Still maintaining his record of not finishing off the podium. He has finished on the podium in every single race this year. And Larry Tenforder taking the top step of that podium for this race. So a great drive from Diego Bertinelli for his 2nd podium of the year. He got a P3 at Lausitzring. And there's the race winner, Larry Tenforder, for Nebulous Racing by Huber. Finally, that run of wins from Dylan Pereira comes to a stop. He was trying to make it 5 in a row, but has to settle for 2nd place. So outside of Le Mans, Dylan Pereira has finished in either 1st or 2nd place in every race this season, with Le Mans being the only race where he's finished outside of the top 2, and that of course was a 7th place. A replay of Larry Tenforder taking that checkered flag. So Diego Bertinelli is also the highest finishing rookie, and that will close up the rookie championship, and it'll be very, very close indeed. So the masks have to be donned, not over the eyes though, that's always a bit awkward. And for Dylan Pereira, he's got to be happy with that. Okay, he didn't win it, but when you saw the number of spins and the number of traumas he had in qualifying this morning, 2nd place, I'm sure as a result, he would have gladly taken. Here's a slow-mo of our 3rd place driver for FAC Autotech. It's Diego Bertinelli. Second place for Fork Racing, Dylan Pereira. And the race winner for Nebulous Racing by Huber is Larry Tenforder. So as we look at the very sadly empty stands at the Lausitzring, we're hoping that next year, when we return here, we will be able to welcome back a full capacity crowd. And we look at that fairly minor damage to the Dylan Pereira car, but still shows quite how in the wars he was during that race. So next year, we will be back here at the Lausitzring, and it was a circuit that we didn't think we were going to be visiting at all. as we say hello to Christophe Hubert. And wave at the cameras. Clearly the man who deserves all the credit. So at the beginning of this year, we didn't think we were coming to the Lausitzring at all. And the sad cancellation of Zandvoort, which was meant to have been this weekend, has meant that we stay in Germany for the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. And fingers crossed, all being well, we'll be at Zandvoort next year. And to see these cars on those brand new banked circuit is going to be very impressive indeed. And we just have to wait a little bit longer for that event to come around. So the driver's waiting to step up onto the podium. And lots of conversations had. Fortunately, the rain has stopped. It would be nice if it could stay away for the rest of the weekend. We're not holding our breath, though. There's your classification. Larry Tenforder leading the way from Dylan Pereira, Jago Bertinelli, Julian Hansis and Lauren Heinrich. Then Rudy Van Buren, Leo Kohler and Jesse Van Koyk. Yuka Honkavori, Lucas Grunewald, and then Carlos Rivas leading the way in the Pro-Am Championship ahead of Alexander Fack. And good to see Alexander Fack finishing in P12. A great debut in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. As our third place, Jago Bertinelli. Second place, Dylan Pereira. And to the top step of the podium, our winner of race one here at the Lausitzring is Larry Tenforder. And now, the national anthem. So finally, after his last ring, back in at the beginning of October at the Sachsenring, Larry Tenforder is able to stand on the top step of the podium. And the championship is really well and truly alive.
Sehr schön. Ich finde das im Übrigen eine sehr charmante Geste der Teambesitzer, Teammanager oder Teamrepräsentanten, wie immer ihr das sagen wollt, dass die sich nicht jedes Mal selbst da oben hinstellen, sondern sagen, ich schicke den Mitarbeiter des Monats mal eben hoch. Und das ist in dem Falle Gerhard Freundorfer gewesen. Gerhard, Alkohol soll im Übrigen auch recht gut gegen Corona schützen. Wenn die Maske getränkt ist, ist das Leben in Ordnung. Die ersten drei. Sage Dank an die und verweise darauf, dass wir da oben gerade mal kurz Ordnung machen und anschließend noch die Siegerehrung haben des Pro-Am-Championats, gucken aber vorher auf die Highlights. Es ist angerichtet, nämlich Siegerehrung Nummer 2, die des Pro-Am-Championats. Und ich habe ja gesehen, die Herrschaften stehen doch da unten auch schon parat. Aufs Fernsehen müssen wir auch nicht warten, das ist unsere eigene Angelegenheit. Und damit Rang 3, nochmal die Huber-Mannschaft. Hier ist für euch Stefan Rehkopf. Oder? Ah, Stefan. Dein Podium, dritte Position, Rang 2, Kartek mit Matthias Jeserich, mein Lieber. Und der Riesenschritt in Richtung Meisterschaft, Black Falcon Team Texter. Hier ist Carlos Rivas und hier ist die Hymne Luxemburgs. Okay, ich habe jetzt gerade die Hymne nicht gehört. Mir wurde nur gesagt, sie sei denn zu Ende. Ich hoffe, das ist auch genau so gewesen. Da werden die Kappen zumindest mal aufgesetzt. Mein lieber Carlos Rivas, deine Trophäe, die für Matthias Jeserich und die für Stefan Rehkopf. Und in der Meisterschaftssituation belegen die Herrschaften genau auch die Reihenfolge. 1, 2...